So I made this Mark 13 Iron Man helmet with a solid metal faceplate. Aluminum, if you will. So come join me on this fabulous and torturous journey to bring this bad boy to life. Alright, so I'm sure you know about my weird obsession. So basically this entire time I've been trying really hard to try and replicate metal using paint to, make my Iron Mans look as real as possible. But turns out it's practically impossible, at least from my experience. So at this point I've pretty much been given no choice but to just use 100% metal. With today's sponsor, PCBWay. Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I really wish I had an Iron Man helmet made out of actual metal instead of this cheap and exaggeratedly fragile PLA plastic? Well, think no more, because PCBWay can get that done for you lickety split. PCBWay offers a plethora of services for your hobby needs, such as custom PCBs, 3D printed parts, CNC parts, and much more. Now, granted, I personally have a 3D printer of my own, so that gives me the ability to make whatever part I want. But despite this, I am still limited in my manufacturing capabilities, such as making professional metal parts, like in this video. But alas, PCBWay has my back. In my case, all I needed to do was just simply upload my files to the webpage for 3D printing, made a few necessary selections, and I was ready to go. The entire process to get things printed is made to be easy and smooth. Whatever your shortcomings are, PCBWay can take care of any of your needs. Don't have a 3D printer? They got you covered. Need a custom PCB chip that doesn't exist? They got you covered. So visit PCBWay by using my link in the description below. Thanks again to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. So let's first talk about the elephant in the room. So the question is, so from what hole am I going to take out a real metal faceplate? And not like that guy, he uses a metal powder. From PCBWay, of course. I don't even know why I'm asking this question right now. So I have this helmet here of the Mark 7 that I modeled not too long ago, and it has all the bells and whistles, demodularization and everything. But this stuff is going to go away because it's not what we're really focusing on right now. What we're focusing on is the metal faceplate. Since this is going to be more of like a proof of concept, I'm not really worried about motorization at the moment. We're basically just testing the waters. So first things first, this faceplate is currently at 4mm thick right here. So for me, it's a bit too thick for my taste when it comes to printing in metal. And just an FYI, I'm going to be printing this in aluminum, so that's that. So the primary focus here is I want to reduce the thickness of the overall faceplate. Probably not around the edges because that's going to be connecting with the overall helmet here, the dome. So I'm going to be focusing on the inner parts of this helmet that are not touching the edges. So that is why I prepped a different variant here, the metal version. And as you can see, this one has an indented interior, and I reduced this to about pretty much 2mm. Since this is an aluminum, it should be more structurally sound than plastic, so I'm not too worried about thickness. 2mm should be the Goldilocks zone where it won't be too thick or too thin, so I'm pretty happy with this. So yeah, the only parts I really did this to are the faceplate and the lip, which is also indented, because those are pretty much the only two parts that are going to be printed in metal. Everything else will be printed in plastic pretty much. So yeah, it's just going to be these two parts that will be in metal, as well as these pins too, because they're on the faceplate. They're also going to be metal. So yeah, all that's left is sending these over to the PCB website and letting them handle it from there. Also, if you guys want to learn more about this helmet model I made here, go ahead and check out my Instagram. There you'll see progress pics and more stuff about this helmet. So go take a look down in the description. Now, just an FYI, PCBWay is sponsoring this video, so they will be providing these parts for me. But yeah, while the metal parts are in production, we're going to go ahead and print out the rest of the helmet. So let's go. Alrighty, so I have everything printed here. Goodness, that's loud. I got the helmet done, back plate, the jaw. I got most of everything printed, save for like the inner parts, but I'm not really worried about that because I don't think I'm gonna get those painted. So yeah, these are basically just standard, nothing too special here. However, the one thing that is special here is this bad boy. Now that's solid metal. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I got this in the mail, that was the most exciting unboxing in my life. This thing is solid. I can probably knock myself out with this thing. But yeah, as you can tell, I kind of did some mining offline just to get a feel for it, But I did even more mining offline because I got the lip done. this thing is pretty much shiny. So I went ahead and basically started sanding this offline with whatever, just to kind of learn the process. And I'm not gonna lie, I started sanding this thing at like 220 grit sandpaper, and it was the most miserable thing in my life. Like, I would argue that as sanding aluminum is much more torturous than plastic, because this thing is hefty. But that basically meant I had to take it down a notch. So instead I went back down to like 150, then I brought it up to 220, and after that 320. I wanted to go all the way up to 2000, but I lost the sheets. I actually can't find them. So I basically had to work with what I have. So I'm sure you guys remember this cameo from like the other video, quadruple lot steel wool. This came very much in handy with the polishing after I finished with the 320, and so I just basically went over it with its quadruple lot steel wool. And then I also brought out Mother's Mag, and I went over that with like my old sock, because that's usually how it works best. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how effective WD-40 is. I've seen someone use it to like polish their aluminum parts, and it worked pretty effectively. I used WD-40 on this guy, and I didn't really see that much of a difference. So yeah, do with that information what you will. Use WD-40 if you want. I really don't know if there's a difference to it. However, I think I might finish this off later with WD-40, because if I read correctly, it protects against rust and corrosion on items. So I don't know if I'm gonna finish it off with this, because I feel like it's gonna end up greasy. But yeah, to finish it off, I just took the Scotch-Brite pad and just went in whatever direction I was making it. Like, for example, here, I'm not sure if you can see it in the light. You can sort of see how it's kind of bending the light vertically. Yeah, I went sideways because it's pretty much how I saw it on the reference images, like in the exhibitions. So yeah, with all this knowledge in mind, I'm going to do the exact same thing with this big guy. However, I'm going to be using an electric sander this time, because I practically did all of this by hand. But yeah, pretty much after like, I don't know, it's been years since I've been trying to get a genuine metal look like this, and I am actually happy with this. This looks so nice in that lighting right there. Oh, that's real nice right there. So yeah, but apart from this, this is just the standard. Just gonna go over it with like the same grits I just talked about earlier. Put some wood filler, spot putty, and then finish it off with a primer and the paint. And as stated in the title, this is going to be the Mark 13 helmet. Kind of a niche helmet. I don't think it even shows up on screen in the third movie, but that helmet is the Mark 7 helmet, but silver. So I think obviously this fits it best. So the rest of the helmet is basically like a gunmetal or black. I have to kind of look a little more closely at the reference images. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get the spray paint for this guy, and we're set to go. This is not going to be motorized, like I said before. All I'm going to put is lights in there, so just a proof of concept. So yeah, let's get to work. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to talk about the paint application, because I didn't really go much into detail with that. So to start off, I started with the standard Rust-Oleum primer, that is, but that's not really the focus. What I wanted to focus on is the paint color that I chose. So I was initially looking for a metallic gunmetal, but all I was really coming across was paint buckets online that you would put into like spray guns, but I don't have a spray gun because I'm not really a body shop. So what I was really looking for were spray cans. So I was kind of walking along parking lots and stuff and just looking at the car paints, and I came across a paint that I thought was pretty close to it. So I went to look for the specific paint on that car, and what I found was Tesla Motors Midnight Silver. And with the way the light around it kind of reacted with the paint, I thought that was pretty much nearly spot on to what I was looking for. And to top it off, I used to use 2K clear coats, but As of right now, I switched over to like 1K. I got this from Amazon, and this is semi-gloss, by the way. So the reason why I switched over to 1K instead of 2K was because 2K is not that good for the long run, especially when I only have smaller projects, because 2K clear coats are mostly used for body paints on cars. And so 2K has to have like a chemical reaction within the can. You shake it and you spray it all, and you're supposed to use all of it, because if you save some in there for like more than 48 hours, I believe, it pretty much hardens up and you can't use it anymore. So it's kind of wasted. And so 1K doesn't need a chemical reaction to do its thing, so this lasts near indefinitely, so it works best for me, especially in the long run. And of course I got semi-gloss because in most of the reference photos, I see the major panels as being like semi-gloss, not too glossy or not too matte. It's like somewhere in the middle, so I want to emulate that with this thing. So yeah, so with this out of the way, let's get the rest of the helmet done. Alright, so she's basically done. So I learned a few things along the way, even after my explanation. So I ended up needing to do the faceplate twice, because too many dents were left over from the electric sander, especially leftover scratches from the sanding process that I didn't really bother, or not bother, more like too lazy to remove. So I learned that using an electric sander in the later stages of sanding, such as in like the higher grits, is not that practical, since I felt that I was leaving bigger scratches than it should have. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use an electric sander, since I think it's most useful during the early stages, since I feel like the early raw stage of this part is filled with a bunch of dents and stuff, and they're pretty deep too. So I think the electric sander works best with knocking those down as quickly as possible, because doing it by hand is just utterly infuriating. But I actually learned a sanding process from a Reddit user that had a past discussion about this kind of thing. I can't remember the name, but my most sincere gratitude to them. But I learned that doing a cross pattern while sanding works really well, especially when keeping track of which grit you're on. So in one grit I'll be going in this direction, and then on the following grit I'll be going in this direction. So for each stage I'll just keep sanding and sanding and sanding until the scratches from the earlier step disappear. And I feel like that works the best for the best result. So I went ahead and applied that strategy after the electric sanding stage. And then speaking of grits, I actually added a few grits along the way just to make it a little easier. So I started from 60, which was part of the electric sanding stage. And then after that, I moved up to 150, and then 220, then 320, and finally 800. So I feel like going through more grits kind of smooths the process a little bit. So you're not brute forcing it from one grit and then you jump to like a super high grit, and then you'd spend more time trying to sand out with a grit that's way too smooth for what you started with. And so that actually brings me to the mechanisms of this helmet. I decided to engineer a sort of collapsing mechanism to this helmet so you can collapse the back plate like that. And then from there you can just put it on like so. And then another cool thing I added as well was a detachable faceplate, just for funsies. Of course, with the magnets here. And I'm pretty sure you can already tell that it looks kind of janky on the outside. You can see that I put some tape in there. At first, this was supposed to be attached with hot glue, but the funny thing is, I actually took this out to Halloween and I dropped the faceplate. But funnily enough, you can barely see any damage. You can't even see any damage at all. This thing's pretty hefty. So yeah, the only things that came off were all this stuff. It just popped off. So I have to get that fixed pretty soon, but this will do pretty much for now. But yeah, this helmet overall came out really nicely. And as I said before, I took this bad boy out to Halloween, and I haphazardly put my old suit together, mostly just to show off this helmet. The result was not stellar, but I'm focused on the helmet, alright? I will say though, during the process of painting the rest of the helmet, I thought I was going to run out of paint, because I repainted a few parts twice because of my poor sanding, because you can still see the layer lines. But even then, I still had enough paint to cover the whole thing a few parts twice, obviously. And I probably still have some left over. But yeah, this came out really nicely. The reflectiveness is pretty much spot on to what I've been looking for. But yeah, I gotta say, this is my best work so far. But yeah, if you want to see more of my content, you can watch this video for a step-by-step tutorial on how to print an Iron Man helmet. And this video is to see how I made a different helmet, this time using brass. But yeah, don't mind me. I'm gonna put this guy on display.